A woman brings a ring into a shop to have one loose prong tightened. Routine work, 10 minutes at the bench, $40. She picks it up 2 days later, and it is gleaming, brighter than she has ever seen it. The jeweler polished it for her at no charge, as a courtesy, the way most shops do. The prong was fixed correctly. And the hallmarks inside the shank, the tiny stamps that proved where and when that ring was made, are now soft, shallow ghosts you can barely read under a loupe. Nobody did anything wrong on purpose. The $40 repair cost her thousands. That is what this video is. 9 jewelry repairs that actually lower the value of your piece, counted from the ones you can recover from to the one that cannot be undone, and it is the one almost every shop performs for free. Here's the question that decides all 9. Does this repair return the piece to working order, or does it rewrite the piece? Those are completely different jobs, and only one of them protects your money. And the principle underneath it, which the antique trade states plainly: buyers of old jewelry want untouched pieces. Restoration done before a sale very often backfires, because alteration raises questions that an unaltered piece never has to answer. Let us count them down. Number 9, replacing the original clasp. We start with the most reasonable sounding request in any shop. The clasp is fiddly, or worn, or hard to work with arthritic hands, so put a nice modern lobster on it. Here's what leaves with the old clasp. We did a whole video on this, so the short version. Every clasp type in history has an invention date. A trombone catch says continental Europe. A lever safety says after 1901. A long pin and an open C says before 1890. That clasp is one of the few parts of a piece that carries a date, and dealers read it to place the piece in time. Swap it for a modern lobster, and you have removed the evidence and replaced it with something that says nothing at all. Worse, a modern clasp on an antique piece makes an experienced buyer wonder what else was changed. The fix is easy and costs nothing extra. If a clasp genuinely must be replaced for safety, ask the jeweler to keep the original and hand it back to you in a bag. It stays with the piece, in the box, and the evidence survives even if it no longer works. And there is a middle path most people never ask about. A worn clasp can often be repaired rather than replaced. A tired spring can be renewed. A stretched loop can be closed. A bent tongue can be straightened. Repairing the original keeps everything intact, and it is frequently cheaper than fitting a new one. Number 8, Rhodium plating old white gold. White gold is not naturally white. It is yellow gold alloyed with white metals, and almost all of it is finished with a thin rhodium coating to give that bright, cool, silvery surface. That coating wears off over years, and the piece slowly warms toward a soft champagne color. Modern shops treat that as a defect and offer to replate. On a modern ring, fine. That is routine maintenance. On an old piece, it is a decision, not a service. That warm tone is what decades of wear look like, and on genuinely old white gold, it is part of how the piece reads as period. Replating erases it in a single dip, and it also fills fine, engraving very slightly, softening detail that was cut by hand. So before anyone offers, ask one question. Was this piece originally rhodium plated at all, or is this a modern finish being applied to something that never had it? On plenty of early white gold, the answer is no, and the bright new surface is a costume, not a restoration. There is a practical cost too. Rhodium is a coating, which means it is a commitment. Once a piece is plated, it will need replating every couple of years to keep looking the way it does the day you collect it, because that surface wears through again. You are not restoring a finish. You are signing up for maintenance the piece never previously required. Number 7, a resize that cuts through the hallmarks. Now a repair almost nobody thinks of as risky, because resizing is the single most common job in any shop. Here's the problem of geometry. A ring gets resized at the bottom of the shank, because that is where the sizing is added or removed. And on an enormous number of old rings, the hallmarks are stamped exactly there on the inside of the shank at the bottom, where they would not show. So the cut goes straight through them. A maker's mark, a purity stamp, an assay mark, and a date letter can be reduced to half a symbol and a scar of solder. Those stamps are the birth certificate of the piece, and a ring that cannot prove its own origin is worth measurably less than the identical ring that can. Before any resize on an old ring, do 2 things. Photograph the inside of the shank clearly, under a loupe if you can, so the marks survive as a record. And ask the jeweler directly whether the sizing can be done from a different part of the band, or whether the marked section can be preserved and reattached. A good bench will have an opinion. A rushed one will simply cut. And consider whether you need the resize at all. A ring guard, a sizing bead, or a small insert can adjust fit without cutting the band, and every one of those is reversible. On a piece you care about, reversible beats permanent every single time. Number 6, replacing old stones with new ones. Somebody looks at an old ring and sees a problem. The stones are small, they do not sparkle much. One is a bit uneven, and the modern eye reads that as tired. So the well-meaning suggestion arrives. Let us put in fresh, brilliant cut stones and make it beautiful. What just went in the scrap jar is the piece. Old mine cuts, old European cuts, and rose cuts were shaped by hand, before electric light, and they behaved differently on purpose, with slow, warm, broad flashes instead of restless sparkle. They are collected specifically for that, they are cut in ways nobody produces at scale today, and modern grading systems undervalue them, which means the market has them cheap and the informed buyer wants them. Replace them with modern melee, and you get a ring that looks like a modern ring. The antique premium is gone, and the character with it. If a stone genuinely is missing, the right answer is a period-appropriate replacement, and any good specialist has access to antique stones for exactly this. And whatever comes out, comes home with you. Number 5, the free ultrasonic clean. Now the one that arrives disguised as a gift. Almost every shop offers a complimentary ultrasonic or steam clean with any service, and for a modern gold ring with a diamond, it is genuinely harmless. For old jewelry, it is a hazard with a bow on it. Ultrasonic vibration and hot steam get behind closed backs and destroy the original foil that sits under stones in 18th and early 19th century settings, and once that foil clouds, the stones go dull permanently. They loosen the layers of pearls, they crack opals, they lift enamel at the edges, they wash out old glue in cameos and mosaics. They shake loose stones that were only just holding. So the rule at any counter is one sentence, and say it before you hand anything over. Please do not put this in the ultrasonic or the steamer. That single sentence has saved more antique jewelry than every repair in this video. And say it even when you are only dropping the piece off for something unrelated, because the clean is usually not on the paperwork. It is a habit of the shop, performed at the end of any job as a finishing touch, which means nobody will think to ask you first. The only way it does not happen is if you say so at the counter. If any of this is making you rethink the piece sitting in your bag right now, subscribe, because the last 4 are the ones that cannot be reversed at any price. Number 4. Putting an old stone into a modern mount. Here is where we cross from damage into transformation, and the trade has a name for what comes out the other side. Franken jewelry. The pitch sounds sensible. The old mounting is worn. The design is dated. So let us take grandmother's diamond and set it into something fresh you will actually wear. And sometimes, honestly, that is the right call for a piece that will otherwise sit in a drawer forever. But be clear about the trade. The stone survives. The object does not. An antique ring is a stone plus a mounting plus, the way that period built things, and it is valued as one artifact. Separate them and you have a loose old stone, which the market prices as a loose old stone and a modern ring around it. Anything that made the original catalogable, the maker, the period construction, the design, is gone, and it does not come back. If you do it anyway, do it in the way that keeps the door open. Keep the original mounting. Do not scrap it. A stone can be put back into its own setting years later, by you or by whoever inherits it. Once the mounting is melted, that choice is over. Number 3. Recutting an old stone to make it sparkle. This one gets suggested constantly, and it is the most expensive sentence in this video. Your old diamond looks dull, we can recut it to modern proportions and really wake it up. 3 things happen when a cutter does that. First, you lose weight, and it is not trivial, because bringing an old cut to modern proportions typically removes a meaningful percentage of the stone, and carat weight is priced steeply. Second, you lose the coolet, the high crown, the small table, all the features that identify it as antique, which means you lose the antique market entirely. And third, you get a modern stone that is, by modern standards, mediocre, because it was cut from material shaped for a different purpose. So the arithmetic is brutal. You paid a cutter to make your stone smaller, then paid the market a second time by turning a sought-after antique into an ordinary modern one. There is one narrow exception worth naming, because it is real. If an old stone has genuine damage, a significant chip along the girdle, or a break that threatens the stone, then a conservative recut that removes as little as possible can be the responsible choice. That is repair. Reshaping a perfectly sound antique stone to chase modern brightness is not. Old cuts are not broken. They were built for candlelight, and they do exactly what they were designed to do. Number 2. Torch work near a treated stone. Now the repair that can destroy a stone in seconds, and the owner usually has no idea it was even a risk. Many colored stones on the market are filled. Rubies with lead glass in their fissures, emeralds with oil or resin, diamonds with glass fracture filling. Those fillers exist at the surface of the stone, and they are not built to survive a jeweler's torch. So an ordinary job, sizing a ring, retipping a prong, soldering a broken shank, puts a flame near the stone, and the filler boils out, burns, or clouds. A ruby comes back with a white spidery network through it. A filled diamond comes back hazy. This is exactly why plenty of benches refuse to take glass-filled rubies in for any hot work at all, and why good shops ask what the stone is before they light anything. Your protection is a question and a decision. Before any repair involving heat, say clearly that the stone may be treated and ask whether it should be removed first or whether laser welding can be used instead, which works precisely and cold enough to spare heat-sensitive stones. Laser work typically runs $70 to $120. That is cheaper than a ruined stone by an enormous margin. Number 1, polishing. And here it is. The most common, most casual, most freely offered repair in the entire industry, and the one that quietly removes more value than everything else on this list combined. Understand what a polishing wheel actually does. It does not clean the surface. It removes it. It takes metal away in a thin layer everywhere it touches. So here is the list of things that go with that layer. The patina, the soft darkening that settles into recesses over decades, which is one of the clearest signals a piece is genuinely old. Sharp edges, which soften into rounded ones, and rounded edges read as worn or reproduction. Hand engraving, which loses depth and crispness. Fine wirework and filigree, which get thinner every time. And the hallmarks, which sit shallow by design and disappear faster than anything else on the piece. Now the part that makes it number 1 rather than number 5. Nobody orders it. It is offered as a courtesy, it is included free with almost any service, and it happens to pieces whose owners never asked for it and would have said no if anyone had asked. It costs about $40 as a paid service and nothing at all as a freebie, and it is irreversible. There is no putting metal back. So say it every time, at every counter, before the piece leaves your hand. Please clean it, but do not polish it. 5 words, and they are the most valuable 5 words in this video. And know the difference between the two, because they are not the same job. Cleaning removes what has landed on the surface. The skin oil, the soap film, the dust packed behind a stone, and a soft brush with warm water and mild soap does most of it without touching the metal at all. Polishing removes the surface itself. One returns the piece to how it looked. The other makes a new, thinner piece that happens to look shiny. There is also a version of this you can do to yourself at home, and it is worth naming. Polishing cloths impregnated with compound, rotary tools with buffing wheels, and abrasive silver dips all remove metal in exactly the same way a professional wheel does, just more unevenly. On anything old, the safest tool in your house is a soft, dry cloth and the discipline to stop. Now the honest note, because this is not an argument against repair. A necessary repair protects a piece. A loose prong that is not tightened becomes a lost stone, and a lost antique stone is a far bigger loss than any polishing. A weak clasp becomes a necklace on a train platform. A worn shank becomes a broken ring. Stabilizing a piece so it survives is not what this video is warning about. The standard the antique trade uses is minimal intervention. Do what is needed for the piece to be safe and wearable, and nothing beyond it. The damage in all 9 of these cases comes from going further, from improving rather than preserving, and from a shop applying modern habits to an object that was not made in modern times. So here's the practical version, and it is 4 sentences to say at the counter. Please clean it, but do not polish it. Please do not put it in the ultrasonic or the steamer. If anything has to be removed or replaced, keep the original parts and give them back to me. And please tell me before you use heat anywhere near this stone. Then take it to the right bench. Not every jeweler works on antiques, and there is no shame in that. It is a different skill set. A good independent jeweler who handles old work will tell you what they are going to do before they do it. Explain what they see under magnification while you watch, and be perfectly comfortable when you say no to the free polish. Now tell me in the comments what came back different. The ring that returned too shiny, the brooch with the modern clasp, the stone somebody helpfully recut. I read every one, and these stories help more people than the video does. This channel takes no sponsorships and no paid placements. No brand, no dealer, and no repair shop pays to be praised or buried here, and that independence is the only reason I can tell you that the free service on the counter is the one most likely to cost you money. If straight answers like this are why you keep coming back, the join button below makes you a member and keeps these breakdowns honest. A repair should return your piece to you. It should never return a different piece. I will see you in the next one.